Today I'm showing you 7 cocktails from some of Sydney's best bars. These cocktails are all featured in Sydney Cocktails, which is published by Cider Mill Press. I'm excited to get started. These cocktails are from my, I was going to say hometown, but it's from my home country, Australia. So I'm proud to be presenting these cocktails for you guys. There are some local ingredients in there, but as I run through the cocktails, I'll suggest some substitutions in case you can't get a hold of some of these particular products. But I've got some great cocktails to show you today, and I'm kickstarting things with the Flamin Galah, which is a Jungle Bird riff. Let's get onto it. So the Flamin Galah is a variation on the modern classic Jungle Bird, which was created in Singapore around the 60s or 70s. Key difference being that instead of using a dark rum or an aged rum, we're using a spiced rum. In particular, I'm using Brix, which is a rum from New South Wales, which has got some really unique spices in there. Obviously, if you don't have access to this, then you can find a local spice rum, something that's close by to you. This is a blended cocktail rather than being shaken, and the sort of the thing that keeps it really intensely flavored and quite punchy is the fact that we're blending in pineapple flavored ice cubes, so pineapple juice ice cubes, rather than shaking and adding dilution into the drink and then watering down the flavor. So this should be really flavorful. So I've got 3 pineapple ice cubes. I know that they're about 30 milliliters each, so there's 90 ml of pineapple juice in there, as opposed to 90 ml of water. So I'm starting with 60 ml, 2 ounces of spiced rum, 30 ml, 1 ounce of Campari, 90 ml, 3 ounces of pineapple juice, preferably freshly squeezed, then 30 ml, 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. Now, whilst I am featuring 7 cocktails from this book, there is 100 recipes in there from some of Sydney's best bars. So I highly recommend checking it out. Thank you, Cider Mill Press, for sending it to me. You can check out a link for this book in the description below. By the caliber of these cocktails, you should definitely get a copy of this book. So, blended cocktail, spiced rum, Campari, pineapple juice, and fresh lime juice. Give it a blend. I think I'm going to add a little bit more ice in there. Maybe 1 or 2 cubes. I'll go 2. Oh, it is super textural, super frothy. Still not enough. Adding another 2 cubes because I do want it to be slushy-like. I want it to have icy texture. The fact that this is called the Flamin Galah is probably the reason I picked it to be the starting cocktail. So transfer that into a hurricane glass. There we go, nice and icy. Fill it to the top. Then for garnish, I'm putting a hollowed out lime sat on top, 3 pineapple spears, serving with a couple of straws, and then I'm going to add a little bit of overproof rum in here and light that up. And then once it's lit, it gets a little sprinkling of cinnamon dust on top. And of course, make sure you blow it out before you decide to drink it. Just check my straws aren't hot. I mean, the presentation on this is fantastic. And I love the concept of doing an Australian version of a Jungle Bird using a local spice rum. Oh, that's fun. The first sip that I had before I actually added some extra cubes, it was pretty full on. It was pretty strongly flavored. I mean, you do have 60 rum and 30 Campari, so that's a considerable amount of booze. But once you add that additional dilution, I mean, I've got an OFTD, like an overproof rum, sitting on top as well. Once you add that extra dilution, I ended up adding seven cubes, which is like roughly about 200 ml of dilution through ice. So it kind of tempers out the spirits that are in here. Then of course I'll tip that overproof rum in there. Really nice cinnamon note on it that complements the pineapple. This is a wicked start. Now I'm pumped to try this one. This is from Sammy Junior Bar. One of the co-owners is Martin Hudak, which he is one of the ambassadors of Mr. Black Cold Brew Coffee Liqueur. And he's also written a book on coffee or coffee cocktails, one of the two, but he knows his coffee. He knows his coffee cocktails, and this is his Espresso Martini. I don't know if it's created by him, this particular recipe, but it's from his bar, so it must be good. And he uses a simple technique at maybe Sammy, which is the bar that predecessor of Sammy Junior. I'm pretty sure he pre-batches all his espresso martini ingredients, and then just, because they go through so many of them, he'd keep a pre-batch bottle in the fridge, and then he just uses a milkshake blender to whip it up, give it a really nice textural, like foamy crema to the top of the cocktail. So he likes to simplify it by batching it. But yeah, let's just get cracking on the drink itself. This one here calls for the ingredients to be chilled. So Mr. Black cold brew coffee liqueur, an Australian wheat-based vodka is used as the base for the coffee liqueur. And then we have a Demerara rum. Admittedly, he likes to use Bacardi Reserva Ocho. So it's a different rum. Then we've got a 30 ml of espresso, like heat extracted espresso. Then we've got some coconut water. I'm not usually a fan of coconut water, but this could work really well. We've got those umami notes, a little bit of sort of savouriness to it, and it will lengthen it out too. But let's get onto the drink recipe itself. Starting with chilled ingredients makes a lot of sense. So we're going to measure out 40 ml, 1 1/3 ounce of Mr. Black cold brew coffee liqueur, and 20 ml of aged rum. So not only can you use this book to grab all these recipes, but you can also use it as essentially like a Sydney bar guide if you're visiting. 30 ml, 1 ounce of espresso, and then 80 ml of coconut water. Now you can see I've got two glasses chilling, because I think this is going to make more than one serve. Add a little bit of ice into the milkshake tin and flash blend. Such a smart and simple technique to make your espresso martinis. My only issues, the bubbles are really quite big. So give it a tap, knock out some of those larger air bubbles. Transfer to chilled Nick and Nora glasses. As I guessed, it was definitely going to make more than one espresso martini. Oh, look at that. The crema on those. And then garnish that with some cacao nibs. These look fantastic. Cheers. Oh, the coconut kind of like, I want to say thins it out, but I thought it doesn't sound very good. It makes it a little bit lighter. It's still, the coffee is still pronounced, because obviously you got Mr. Black as well as the espresso. That works really well. And there's no addition of sugar. I mean, some people might like a touch of sugar, but I think this is just perfect as is. That's a winner. All right, this one looks fun. So this is the Shiraz Me Not, which is from the Winery Bar. It calls for a Shiraz gin. Now, it does specifically call for another brand of Shiraz gin, but my distillery, Threefold Distilling, does make one ourselves. So it would be remiss of me not to use my own Shiraz gin. Shiraz Mourvedre gin, 2 different grape varietals, macerated in gin for 48 hours. Then we press those grapes and extract the juice. So half this bottle is actually grape juice. So it's a sweet and jammy style of gin. It's quite unique. It's an incredibly popular style of gin here in Australia. Not so much in other countries, but it'll take off. I know it will. It's starting to. It's a fantastic style of gin. It's essentially like Australia's take on a slow gin. Although it's not sweetened, slow gin is usually has added sugar. This just has sweetness from the fruit itself. This calls for 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of Shiraz gin. So I mean, you could potentially use a slow gin maybe, if you don't have access to a Shiraz gin, but I will try and get Shiraz gin for sure. Then we have 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of vodka, and then Liqueur 43, vanilla forward liqueur. So 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce. There's obviously other spices in there as well, not just vanilla, but it's often referred to as a vanilla liqueur. It's a Spanish liqueur. And then we have 15 ml, half an ounce of all the next ingredients, which is cranberry juice. 15, half an ounce of pineapple juice. 15 ml, half an ounce of lemon juice. And then 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce of orgeat. So this house-made orgeat, 2-to-1 ratio. So it's a rich orgeat. Hopefully you can see all these ingredients. I've got so many on the bar. And then you want to add ice and give it a shake for 10 to 12 seconds. Now the glass that was in this ice had diluted or melted, so there was some water in the bottom, so I've strained that off, then topped it up with more ice, so I should mention that. And then strain over the top into a highball glass. Oh, look at that intense color. Just top it up with a little bit more ice. And I'm finishing that with Shiraz Gin Caviar. Now, it sounds a lot harder than what it is. There's two different ways you can make caviar. So you can make popping pearls essentially, and you use two different chemicals using baths, and the outer layer will form a skin, and then when you chew them, they'll pop and you'll get a burst of flavor. This is the easier method. So I've added agar-agar, which is a vegan alternative to gelatin. I've added 1% of that by weight into some Shiraz gin, heated it up to mix it through, and then dropped it into cold vegetable oil. And it just essentially forms a jelly. So the difference with these is they won't pop. It's just a solid kind of chewy ball. I've added a little bit of citric and malic acid just to bring up that acid profile in it as well, just to make them a little bit brighter. But surprisingly simple technique to undertake. Now, if you do want the techniques for this kind of stuff, then it's all featured inside Sydney Cocktails. Fun. Again, serve this one with straw, and I think the Shiraz caviar sitting on top is just like a nice little touch. Awesome presentation for this one. Cheers. Oh, really quite, I like what the addition of the juices do, the pineapple and the cranberry. The cranberry adds a little bit of tartness, the pineapple just sweetens it up, lengthens out the drink. It's really quite easy to drink. It's really quite light with the addition of the vodka, sweetened up with some spices and vanilla liqueur. The term I would use for this is crushable. That's way too easy to drink. Enjoy that. Now, without actually noticing, I've actually got a few vodka cocktails in today's lineup. So 3 in total. This is like a vodka meets tiki kind of vibe to it. So it's got a coconut liqueur. It's got falernum, which is a liqueur from Barbados that has lime, clove, ginger. It's got a little bit spicy. So it's got some heat to it, but it's really bright and vibrant. This one in particular, Falernum number 9, is a DIY recipe. So if you want the recipe of that, just Google Falernum number 9 and you'll come across a recipe for it. So let's get straight into the recipe. This drink is from a bar called Icebergs in Sydney. One of the reasons, obviously the ingredients list looked intriguing, but the bar itself is like an institution in Sydney. So sits right there on the coastline. You've got a pool in the ocean. You're right on the water. It's awesome. It's really cool. So I want to measure out 40 ml, 1/3 ounce of vodka, then 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of your choice of coconut liqueur. I'm using 3-folds coconut liqueur. This coconut liqueur is actually coconut fat wash, so there's more to it, but main ingredient is coconut oil melted and added into it and then filtered out, basically. That's the short of it. And then falernum, we're just going to add some spice and some zestiness. So 15 ml, 1/2 ounce, really common tiki ingredient. And then 40 ml, 1 1/3 ounce of fresh pineapple juice. The recipe does call for 15 ml, 1/2 ounce of passion fruit puree. This is passion fruit syrup, so it does have added sugar. So I'm actually going to halve that and do just, say, 7.5, quarter ounce. Otherwise, if I went the full 15 ml, 1/2 ounce, it would probably be a little bit too sweet. And then we have some lime juice, 15 ml, 1/2 ounce. Add plenty of ice and give it a shake 10 to 12 seconds. So I'd really love to hear what city you would love to see featured on this upcoming series. A city that you're from, perhaps it's a city that you love visiting or you know that has awesome cocktail culture. Let me know in the comments below which city you'd like to see in this series. So the book did actually call for shaking for a little bit longer and give it a real solid hard shake, get a little bit more dilution. Somewhat tempted to actually serve this over pebble ice, this one. After saying that, I'll top it with pebble ice, considering that they like the additional dilution. And this one can be garnished with a lime wedge and a dash of old-fashioned aromatic bitters. I like the simplicity of the presentation. To me, it looks great. I think the glass, I mean, admittedly, the Iceberg's glass is like custom branded. It's a slightly different shape, but it's a stemmed glass like this. I do like the presentation. I love the simplicity. Yeah, let's give it a taste. For a vodka cocktail, I mean, you get a lot of, usually vodka cocktails are somewhat neutral, but this packs a lot of punch. It's got a lot of flavor in there. A lot of that is to do with the falernum. I'm getting a lot of ginger and spice and just brightness from the lime zest and the lime juice. And there's that coconut behind that as well. So I really quite like that. It's good. It's a great vodka cocktail. Now we've got a cocktail from Maybe Sammy, which is the predecessor of Sammy Jr. that I was talking about earlier. Tropical coffee margarita. Tropical coffee mango margarita. Kind of an interesting blend of coffee and mango. I know coffee and pineapple works really well, so I have no doubt this will work as well. So we're going to measure out a Blanco tequila. I'm using Carrera Blanco, so 30 ml, 1 ounce. Add that straight into the shaker. 30 ml, 1 ounce of Mr. Black. It's good to see that a lot of these bars are using local ingredients, and I feel like I speak on behalf of many bartenders and people in the industry. Like, we're really quite proud of the fact that Mr. Black is Australian made. We all love our coffee here, and it's available throughout the world, which is cool. Then we have mango syrup. So it's mango puree sweetened with sugar. It's nice and thick. 30 ml, 1 ounce. And then 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of fresh lime juice. So I've pre-salted my glass. As usual, I like to salt just part of the glass. So if I'm giving it to someone else, they have the option of salt, no salt. Completely up to them. Top with ice. Shake for 10 to 12 seconds. Coffee liqueur is such a surprisingly versatile liqueur to use in cocktails. Works with a diverse array of different flavors. My only gripe with coffee liqueur is the fact that the color. I mean, I'm serving a mango margarita, but it's brown. But flavor, that's what's important. Tropical coffee margarita. Cheers. That's fantastic. Mango, tropical tequila. For 1 ounce, 30 ml, like typically I'd think the coffee would just be like really strong in your face. A little bit more subdued in this one, which is good. I like it. Popping the cup. That's a epic margarita riff. You should try it. Next, we have a nice, easy built cocktail. I've pre-chilled my glass, but I'll tip the ice out. Start with that and the ice in there. This is called the Yulefest Records. It's from the team at Shiraz Me Not. I hope that's how it's pronounced. I'm going to have messages from my Sydney friends saying, like, just accosting me for mispronouncing their suburb. But anywho, let's get on to the drink. This is a relatively lower ABV. So apparently that particular bar is really well known for their spritzers and their afternoon drinking sessions, or their Sunday sessions. So a little bit lower ABV. We've got 30 ml, 1 ounce of between the two of the vodka and the limoncello, and then a little bit of Prosecco. So it's nice and light, perfect for those hot Australian days. So we have 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of vodka. I'm using threefold vodka, which is a wheat-based vodka. And then 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce of threefold Australian limoncello, which has native botanicals in the gin base, and then that's used to infuse lemon peel and 3 native limes. So it's a little bit more herbal, complex, lemons and limes in there. Then the next ingredient, this one here, this is kind of cool. I really like the flavor of this. So this is a Royal Gala syrup. So Royal Galas are a varietal of apples. Not sure if they're available in the States and other countries, but a variety of apples, a red apple. The recipe is in the book. So if you want the specific details, make sure you grab a copy. But it is essentially a sugar syrup with cinnamon and star anise. And then it's got apples blended into it and then it's strained out. So it's a really, like, it's got that warming spice that pairs really nicely with apple. It's got a really nice color to it as well by using the Royal Galah apples. So the whole apple is, it's cored and pipped, but the apple with the peel is blended, hence why it's got that nice color. So 30 ml, 1 ounce of Royal Galah apple syrup. Then Prosecco. I'm opening this full bottle, so my wife will be happy. I only need 30 ml, 1 ounce. So I'm just gonna pour it down the side of the glass to try and retain those bubbles. Soda water, 30 ml, 1 ounce as well. And 15 ml, half an ounce of fresh lime juice. Now I'm probably going to get accosted for this. Some people like putting ice in first, some like ice halfway. Completely up to you. But I know people are going to say adding ice this way lets out the carbonation. But plenty of ice, keep it nice and cold, and then garnish that with a couple of sprigs of sage. I think by doing this, all the aromatics on that sage is awesome. I think by doing this way and then adding the ice last, it helps agitate and stir all the ingredients in. If you want to, you can give it a little gentle stir, but I think it's been mixed around enough. That's a super tasty spritz. Really light, notes of apple, and then you get the kind of earthy, herbaceous aromas of that sage. Delightful. Right, last but not least, I'm doing the Archie Sazerac, which is from Esquire. Archie make a range of gins and whiskies, and I believe they do a rum. They do rums as well. One of the OGs of the Australian distilling space. They've been around for a while. Prominent bar and hospitality venue in Sydney. Really cool space to visit. So if you guys are in Sydney, then make sure you visit Archie Rose. Thanks to the team for sending me their rye malt whiskey, by the way. The bottle, or the packaging, I should say, is just like absolutely on point. This is fantastic. This is why I kept it in the box, just to open it on screen. That's a good packaging. I appreciate it. So this is a Australian version of the Sazerac, within reason. I mean, it's an Australian whiskey, and then we've got an Australian native ingredient in this syrup, which I'll touch base on in a second. We've still got the absinthe and the Peychaud's, which is a New Orleans bitters, but Australiana twist on it. So this is a stirred cocktail. I've just chilled my mixing glass down a little bit, and then I'll start by measuring 50 ml, 1 2/3 ounce of Archie Rose rye malt. Oh, that smells good. 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce of absinthe, and then 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce of wattle seed syrup. So wattle seed is a native ingredient. They're actually roasted wattle seeds. They're these little tiny seeds, and once they're roasted, they give off this almost coffee-like coffee seed aroma. That didn't really sound too nice, but it's beautiful, and it will pair perfectly well with whiskey. Whiskey and rum would go really nicely with wattle seed syrup. Yeah. So 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce. Wattle seed is a fairly common ingredient with gin distillers as well. We use it in one of our gins, our aromatic gin. So 2 dashes. I'm using a Japanese style bottle, which is actually 1/3 of a dash. So I'll triple it and do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good amount of ice into the mixing glass. At least cover the level of the liquid and stir for 20 to 30 seconds. Now, if you do want the recipe for the wattle seed syrup, it's a combination of superfine sugar in the States or caster sugar here in Australia, wattle seed, a little pinch of salt, and brown sugar as well. So it's pretty much like a 2-to-1, like it's a rich syrup with wattle seed. So the wattle seed was also, I ground it in mortar and pestle. The recipe is in the Sydney Cocktails book if you would like to grab a copy. Twist of orange over the top. There you have the Archie Sazerac. Great aromatics. To be honest, I was a little bit concerned about the 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce of absinthe. This one in particular sits at 69%. I've had it in quite a few cocktails before, and I know when I use it more than like 7.5 ml, quarter of an ounce, it's kind of just like takes over and blows your head off. But this is really nicely balanced. It's only now that I'm getting those herbal anise notes kind of coming through. It lingers for a long time, but it doesn't overtake the drink. Now that wattle seed introduces, like I said, that kind of coffee, rich coffee, roasted nuts and seeds kind of note to it. There's a good Australian version of a Sazerac. I like it. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to grab yourself a copy of Sydney Cocktails, check out the link in the description below. If the standard of these 7 cocktails that I've featured today to go by, then it's well worth buying this book to grab the other 93 recipes in there. And you'll find a lot of tips about certain bartenders and venues that you should definitely visit in Sydney. So thanks for watching. See you soon.